This has been a long time in coming for us as a foundation, is to have this conversation with our nonprofit community partners. The purpose of the El Dorado Community Foundation is to support the nonprofit community in El Dorado County. And for years, we have been able to accomplish that through program support. And I've been with the foundation now for almost 15 years. And in that
try not to be too loud.
I continually witnessed how oftentimes the nonprofit sector struggled in their capacity. So while we have supported to a great degree program support, we have yet to have pivoted to supporting the capacity of our nonprofits. And through doing research and listening to some of our other community foundations, it became very apparent that if we want good outcomes from our community partners and from their programs, we have to start supporting the organizational structure. And that's really how Building a Better Nonprofit began, is the conversation with the board of directors of the foundation on how we can pivot to supporting our capacity of nonprofits. Now, this has come about because as a foundation, we've grown, and we've grown over the last course of about 6 years dramatically. So we still have program support funding, so I don't want you to worry that that's going away. We have still all different funds that are providing that. But with our Endow El Dorado, we're going to start pivoting those funds directly to support capacity in organizations. So knowing this was going to occur, I started to look for that individual in the community that could help us and assist us in working with the nonprofit sector, specifically on impact, and the impact of our grant making and the impact that we can have on the capacity of nonprofits. I had met Avis Jolly through the Ag in the Classroom. This was a nonprofit that was having some organizational issues, and I watched Avis take them through an entire evolutionary process to move and become a very stable organization in the community. So when we had the capacity then internally at the foundation to start looking for an individual to guide us to be the partner in the process for as an impact officer, I contacted Avis. She reluctantly agreed to talk to me. And then I had to have a conversation with her husband. So basically I was interviewed by the interviewee. And then we were able to secure Avis, and it has been a wonderful partnership to have her on the foundation team. Avis brings a vast amount of knowledge out of her Intel experience and program development and oversight. And we're just really pleased to have her here. And she's going to be introducing to you the very basics today of what building a nonprofit means and what it looks like and what our goals and objectives are as a foundation. So Avis, take it away.
Awesome. Everybody give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you all so much for being here. Again, just a quick background on me. I kind of, like a lot of people on this call, my foray into nonprofits literally was starting as a mom, you know, involved in the community, involved in their kids' booster organizations or PTOs. And a lot of people, a lot of moms don't even realize that those are, you know, those are nonprofits actually. That's you don't even realize that whenever you're doing that and you're raising money for whatever around the school. And then it's grown over time. And I just got more and more involved and more from El Dorado County Ag in the Classroom, the Women's Fund at El Dorado, and several others. I do have my background is I worked at Intel for 8 years, actually in process and program improvement. So that was my space in the corporate world as well. So this is kind of marrying those two, everything that I've been through on the nonprofit side with my corporate experience. So I'm super excited to be here. I have been where a lot of you guys are. A lot of you guys may even be a little bit beyond me, but I have been in organizations that are struggling and stuff and are down to 2 board members literally, or needing to completely reform. So I've been through a lot. lot and stuff in my time here. So I'm super excited to share it. And we'll be leveraging the other players here at the foundation, as you'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick so we can get going. So we're going to go through basically quickly today kind of what we're looking at here as far as building the better nonprofit. And like we said, it is basically helping you guys. We've developed it almost into a floor plans type scenario because all of us are at different levels as far as nonprofits go. Some of you have working boards, you have no staff. Some of you may have a few staff and stuff. You may be a lucky one, or maybe not so lucky that you only do a 990N, meaning you are below $50,000, or you may be blessed to do a full 990 or bigger because you are larger than that. So we're all at different levels and stuff, but we're all contributing to the community in some incredibly awesome way. So that's why we call it the floor plans of success. So what we're going to do quickly is, why are we doing this? Bill alluded to it a little bit. You know, what is our unique viewpoint? Why have we gone into this? We're going to kind of go over what is the goal of the series that we hope you get out of this, and look at those floor plans real quickly. And then just so you can plan your January and February, we're going to go over the different courses and go over what those are going to entail a little bit more than what was on the website. We're going to go over who at least our main course presenters are going to be. We are going to bring in guests to help us, and then our suggested attendees. Just because you're here doesn't mean that you have to be the one that's here for every single session. Maybe you want to be, but you may not necessarily be the right person. So we're going to go through who our suggested attendees are and kind of the logistics of it. And then I'm going to go over that thing that I know a lot of people are excited about upon completion. That capacity grant eligibility, and what does that mean, and how does that work? And then we'll open up for a little Q&A and stuff at the end. So I'm gonna launch right in. So why are we doing this? We offer a really unique viewpoint. You know, basically our mission here in the county and in our foundation is that we embrace and cultivate living a life of purpose. Our dedication is in serving those in need through direct community support of community and organizations who passionately give to the benefit of all. That's you. So we're here to support you. You are the organizations and you are the community that does all this work. So it's part of our mission. We should be doing this, and that's why we're here today. The other unique thing about us is at the foundation, we hold over 300 funds. So we actually, and some of them are nonprofit, and some of them are what I like to call nonprofit-like, where they're using our 501c3 status to do their work and to collect their funds. So we're their fiscal agents, so to speak. And in our county alone, we have actually over 300 nonprofits here in our county, whether they have a fund with us or they do not. So we constantly are getting calls from standalone nonprofits here in our county with questions and stuff. So what I like to say is, at the end, for several years now, the foundation has served as a consultant to those organizations that are serving our county. I'm a good example of this. Whenever I was the executive director of Ag in the Classroom, I can't tell you how many times I called for a lunch or called for a meeting with somebody at the foundation to get some help, to ask a question and stuff, and they were always there for me. So we've been able to sit in this capacity, and now we're really formalizing it and making it that we're here for you, and by offering these classes and stuff, and having these resources available on an ongoing basis. Not just this little ad hoc consultant, we can really serve the community. So that is kind of our unique viewpoint that we bring, and why we feel like this is the right thing to do. And I'm trying to move to my next slide, and it is not wanting to move. Un momento. Oh, there we go. It moved. So what is the goal of this series? Again, if you look at our mission statement, support, and I actually looked up the word support in the dictionary. And yes, we give assistance too, especially financially. That's kind of everyone sees as our main role here in the community, is we host these funds. We serve as a fiscal agent. We give out grants. So yes, we give assistance, especially financially. to our community and to the organizations. But the big thing we also should be doing with the word support in our mission statement is enabling you to function or to act, and not just to function and to act, but to do so in an efficient and effective manner. Because honestly, if we build you guys up, it will better support our community and the population that we serve and that you serve. It also, the big thing is, a lot of people in this community are trusting either us as a fiscal agent or you as a fiscal agent, that you get donations from people in the community, and they are entrusting you to be good stewards of the money that they donate to you, and that you are using it in a judicious manner, and that you have fiduciary oversight of those funds that they are gifting to you. It's really important, whether it's $5 or it's $50,000, that you are protecting and that you are being a steward of the money that people entrust to you. So that's kind of our goal, is at the end of this is making you all better, more efficient and effective with who you support, and having that judicious oversight in the actions that you do, and watching over those funds that people give to you. So this is very fancy, and we will send this out after the fact so you guys can look at it. But this is basically where we said, we're not all on the same floor. We have groups in here. I know one in particular that is just starting out. It's a group of people who came together because they want to do something good in their community. You know, they're coming up with a couple of ideas. They're pretty small, so they're on the ground floor. They're just still forming their committee, and they're here today. They just have a few people that they're like, we want to do this, and we're not quite sure how to step forward. After you get out of that ground floor and you move into the mezzanine, the thing that we all, the hard part is you are a working board. You have no staff. You are doing it all. You are the volunteers. You're pretty small. You have 1 or 2 projects going on. But you need to start setting yourself up for success, because I can tell you, if you build it early and you put in that structure early, it will be easier down the road. Everybody hates doing bylaws if you're a nonprofit, but those bylaws is what sets you up for down the road. Whenever somebody goes, so how long is my term? How long? It's already there. It's already there for you to reflect on and build upon. So I know that some of this is just like, bylaws, can we just go get something off of the internet and stuff and just use it? Yeah, you can, but at some point you really need to dig in, and getting people to come to the table in your committees and stuff. And then of course, under operations, there's at the early levels, it's that starting to figure out how to develop money and how to get donors and how to retain them, retention. How do you start communicating and stuff? So this is the very early stages of all this. You're just launching a website. You're just getting on social media, even if it scares you. How do you do it and stuff? And then the big one over here, you know, you maybe have a budget at the mezzanine level. You know, you maybe are starting, you know, we want to do this year and it's going to cost this much, and you only have 1 or 2 projects. And then you can see how the floor plans move up. And stuff, and how they go on. You're really looking out beyond that first year on those main floors. You're really starting to look out to 3, 4, and 5. You know, you've got some policies in place, some processes in place. You know, you are big enough that you might be filing a 990 and stuff, and you're beyond that little 990N, that you're below $50,000. And then the top is the big one. You've moved beyond, you've got staff, you've got several projects, you've got a big diversified revenue stream. Now, it's not to say that you could be an organization that's operating on one level in one spot, at another level in another. The foundation, for instance, is a good example. We actually just had this conversation internally this last week. We've grown a lot in the last couple of years. And so in some respects, we have to go back down and reset on the ground floor. Operations, we've grown our staff, we've almost doubled it in 2 years. So really coming back down on the ground floor and on the mezzanine for us, as far as our training and our policies and procedures, is important right now. So you can kind of be a bit all over. Where we're going to be focusing this class is going to be the basics. So during the courses that we're offering in January and February, we will be hitting on governance at the basic level, organizational structure, investment development and retention, and communication plans and PR, and nonprofit accounting. Now we say nonprofit accounting because being a nonprofit is very different than being than doing business accounting. There are some things that are similar, but there are some things that are very, very different that everyone needs to be aware of whenever you step into this space. Now I'm trying to think, is it next, Chris? Yes, Chris. So we have our first survey that we want to do, and we'll see if we get this. This is the first time we've ever tried this. So we're getting ready to look at governance as our first class. So if you could take a moment and share with us, so what are some of your largest structures or concerns when it comes to governance? Could it be that you struggle to find the right board members? Or you've had the same people on your board for years and years, you know, or you have lack clear roles and responsibilities. Is your board working? Do you have bylaws, but they're outdated, or they're the boilerplate ones you got off the internet? Please take a moment and check. If you don't see one that applies, feel free to say other and stuff. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to have you enter in the chat how we didn't represent you, how your struggles are, because as we finalize these courses, we want to make sure we're giving you guys what you need. So we'll be honest, we're using you a little bit today as we finalize these to make sure we're hitting all of our marks as far as what you need in the community. So I can see the stuff coming in. We'll give it a couple more minutes. You should just be able to hit it. I can actually see, and if we're getting there, 71% have participated. Again, if you just want to blow past it, you can just hit that other. Chris, let's go ahead and end that poll and share that data. Or I guess I can. There we go. Awesome. So here it is. So it's ranking it. So at the top, it looks like at least the biggest struggle is for 65% of you struggling to find the right board members. Good to know. We'll definitely cover that as far as different avenues. You know, how do you do that? Diversification. Looks like number 2 is board is working, meaning no paid staff for the organization. That is a heavy, heavy lift. So, and I definitely get it. So we'll definitely get into some tips and tricks on that one. Number 3, we've got tied for lack clear board roles and responsibilities and other. So if you had an other, if you clicked other, if you could please just put that in the chat. We want to make sure we grab that and that we can have that for whenever we're developing our classes. So I'm going to go ahead and close out. So governance, that will be our first class. It will be January 13th and 14th. Our objective for that one is we're going to go over different models. Maybe some of the reasons that you're struggling with the board member thing is maybe the model that you're using is not working. We're very used to the very classic model of a board. There are all kinds of board models out there. There's an advisory board, a cooperative board, a patron board, and the classic management and working board, which I know a lot of our organizations have here in the county. But we're going to go over the different board models because there may be one out there that is a better fit for you and your organization. We will also go over some of those basics, those board roles and responsibilities, agendas and minutes. I know that this one can be painful. I know that there's a group on here, Housing El Dorado, that's represented today, and that will tell you that doing those minutes and those agendas early on were such a pain and felt like such a lift. But after they got through a couple months, it was very important for them as far as being able to efficiently run their meetings. And we have templates, so you don't have to start from scratch as far as how to get going. So we'll go over that, and then some different roles and responsibilities. In governance as well, we need to get into that whole, again, you're stewards of our community's goodwill, ensuring that you are operating legally and morally and ensuring the fiduciary health of your organization. So again, this is where we'll dive into bylaws a little bit. I know bylaws aren't fun. It's actually a requirement if you get your 501c3 that you have bylaws. We want to go make sure you guys are protected. So we'll talk about directors and officers insurance. We'll talk about conflicts of interest. This is one that is you get into this because you have a love and you're probably already participating in this area of interest. So that's why it's important to understand why it's conflict of interest is very important in this, to make sure that you are separating yourself as whether it's business dealings or whatever, just to protect your 501c3 status and some policies and procedures. Bill Roby, our executive director, is going to be the main course presenter for this one. He will bring in guests, including Hillary Mulligan, who is on the call here with us. She's our new community coordinator, our latest staff member, who will be assisting with the governance course. Again, you don't have to come to everything. So if you have an organization that has several positions, the one that we're suggesting for this one is it is governance, it is leading, it is setting it up. So we are saying if you are a board, that maybe it's your president or your vice president. If you are an executive committee, it's your chair or your vice chair. But again, because of those, usually what's called the officer roles, if you have a secretary, send your secretary. If you have a treasurer, send your treasurer. And I will tell you right now that you can send multiple people to the same class, that's fine. As long as you have one, you will see to be eligible for that grant at the end, as long as there's one. You can tag out at the last minute if kind of like I have to do for a board meeting. If I all of a sudden have something come up and I need to punt to my vice president, you will be able to punt to other people if life takes a turn. Whenever we take attendance in these classes, we will just make sure that an entity is represented. That will be our main topic as far as the eligibility for the grant. All right, Chris, let's do the second one. So we're getting ready to move into organizational structure. Would you take a minute to share with us your concerns about organizational structure? Oops, we have the word governance in there. Strike that one out. Chris and I were working on this to the last minute. So this is around organizational structure. So this is beyond your governing. This is committees. This is, do you have committees? Maybe you don't, or you just pull them together as they're needed. Or my big one is because you get into these missions and these ideas and these things you want to do because of a program or a project. A lot of people only want to be on the program and the project committee. Nobody wants to sit on finance. Nobody wants to sit on revenue development because they don't want to ask for money. So a lot of people can be heavy in program and project. So where are your struggles when it comes to organizational structure? We'll take a minute and let everybody answer that one. I'm going to check the chat real quick while you guys are answering. And if you don't have committees, a lot of people are just forming, so you may not have committees yet. I know, again, a couple of groups here that are just in the forming stage. Beautiful. Okay, Chris, if you could end that poll, please. Awesome. We pull together committees as they are needed. Very classic. I totally get that one and stuff. Whenever it's time for a fundraiser, you pull that fundraiser committee out and you dust it off. Again, this is something we'll discuss as far as being able to be efficient and effective, even if your committees only meet every other month, why it is important to have committees and standing committees to get work done. I get that number one, that next one, the board does all the work. And and stuff, that there aren't a lot of committees. And I understand that one. That one's a big one for folks here in our county. Again, other is number 3. If you could please share in the chat what your other struggles are, because we want to make sure that we hit those whenever we get into the classes in case we miss it, miss on grabbing it here today. So I'm going to go ahead and stop. It takes a minute to catch up, guys. Thank you. So organizational structure is scheduled for January 20th and 21st. So this is going to go over committee development and what it looks like and that structure. We highly suggest a few very basic committees. We will go over those and what those committees' objectives, roles, and responsibilities are, including reporting, because generally these committees operate outside of your governing board, but the board needs to know, or the executive committee needs to go on an ongoing basis, what's that committee doing and stuff, and allow them to do their work, but stay up to date with what's going on. If you get into committee space, you're going to get into the same thing you did with board, which is making sure that you have those committees filled and doing succession planning. The great thing is that we'll share with you guys is a lot of times if you have committees, that winds up being your board in the future. That is a great place to grow future board members, is to have them sit on a committee first and engage with the organization in a certain area, and then have them join the board and stuff. That is a great way to, again, grow them. I'm going to be the main person that presents this one. Several groups on this call know that I have taken them through the paces of doing committees and getting it set up. The great thing is you'll find here shortly, I know you're like, how do I get these people for committees? We're going to share with you ways, especially through public relations and communications. One of our other classes is how do you get the word out there that you need help, and how does that work? So that will be great. Recruitment will be a big thing. So I see that one in how to keep committees engaged and active, super important. Suggested attendees for this one, again, is your leadership. However, if you have committees, send your chairs. Or if you have anyone that is particularly, or if you're big enough that you have someone that is in charge of recruitments, that you send those persons. But again, this is that higher level. It's again, setting up the structure of the organization. So those are the attendees we're suggesting for this one on the 20th and the 21st of January. So you might have leadership be heavy in these first 2 classes. Okay, Chris, go for the next one. Okay, fancy words for raising money, whether it's raising money through a fundraiser, applying for grants, getting donations, investment development, because think of them as they are investing in your organization. And once you have those people, especially donors, how do you retain them? How do you get that investment to happen? And then you retain that investment, you retain that donor, and you keep them going along with you. So again, what are your biggest struggles in this area? Maybe you only have 1 or 2 ways that you get revenue a year. You have the same people that always give. You don't have a lot of diversification. You don't see new people coming on.
I'm listening to the meeting.
The classic, I want to do it, but I hate to ask people for money. You're very uncomfortable asking people for money.
Avis?
That is a very classic one. We all love our missions, but we hate asking for money. And you hardly ever apply for grants because you're scared to. You don't know how to. You need some skill sets. Do you know who your donors are? Do you have what's called a donor database? Could I ask you who donated to your organization last year, and you could look it up for me and tell me how much and who they were? That's kind of a donor database. Do you have that? Take a few minutes, let everybody answer this one. The elephant in the room. We all want to do good, but it takes money to do it. Awesome. Chris, if you could end this one. Beautiful. So there we go. The comfortable asking for money is up there tied with a donor database. We will give you guys in this class tips and tricks to get you guys comfortable and stuff, and to give you the tools to do that. The big one is just, you know, getting you comfortable with your passion and what you want to do. Donor database, that is a simple one we'll be able to help you with too. Again, it's one of those things that creating it takes a little bit of time, but once you have it and you're just updating it, it is a beautiful tool to have. Hardly ever apply for grants. The great thing is on this one, we're going to have somebody helping with this class that will help you do that. So I'm going to go ahead and get back on and skip forward. So the third class will be investment development and retention. It'll be January 27th and 28th. The course objective will be understanding your funding stream and diversifying it. So whether you're getting money from individual donors, how you ask corporations and businesses, how you ask a foundation. We're not the only foundation game in town, you guys. There's a lot of foundations around in our community, including that serve our region that you could be applying to or partnering with for support. And governments. This is one that actually even our local government has asked us to make sure we get out there with the nonprofits and understand that government is a way, if you have a mission that does or could partner with our government to do work, how do you attain government funding or government grants to do that? Doing the first one always is a little scary and stuff, but once you've done one government grant, then you kind of know it. They're all pretty standard. And there's always things going on. I know there's an organization here on the call today that actually did what's called a request for proposal with our local government to try to take up a contract and stuff. Those are possibilities. So getting you all comfortable and understanding with what that is. Developing that donor database. That's a big one, and we saw that one. And understanding the board's role in fundraising. So that's one that you guys said you aren't that comfortable with. So we'll get you there. So you're going to have two experts. I will be along for the ride for this one, but you will have two wonderful people at the foundation leading this one. We will have Lois Roberts, who's our donor services liaison. She's the one that knows how to work with those individual donors, to work with those corporations and businesses and foundations and somewhat in government. Kathy Haven, who's on the call today, she's our program coordinator, and she just waved. Program coordinator she also is the one who basically does all of our grants. Here. She's our grants facilitator and our grants coordinator here. So she's the one that really, she reads the grant. She knows what it takes and what goes into them. So she's the one, for those of you who aren't comfortable with doing grants, she will be able to give you the tips and tricks as far as what's looked for in a grant application and how you go about getting grants. This one, again, depending on your organization, it could still continue to be leadership. But the big one is if you have a fundraising chair or you have a development chair or you have a grant writer, send them to this one. This will be one for them. I, for instance, know that I sit on a couple of boards where my treasurer is going to attend this one as well. But I have a fundraising chair. He's the one that does our dinner every year and stuff. So he will be attending this one for us. So think about that one whenever it comes to this one. It's investing in you. It's investing in that one. All of our committees. I'm reading Maureen's input. So beautiful. Okay, Chris, next one. Communications and public relations. Oh, you've got to get the word out about your organization. If nobody knows about you and they don't know what you do, how are they ever going to know how to give, how to volunteer? So what are your struggles? Are you kind of winging it? When you have something, you put it on social media or you do a press release? Do you have a logo or a letterhead, but that's kind of where it ends whenever it comes to your branding? Oh, the scary social media. Do you not have it at all, or you don't really understand how to use it? It's something that's growing by leaps and bounds, and we totally get it. Do you don't have a person supporting your organization that has the skill set? you know, that you need a website and you don't have somebody that can do it. You don't understand how to do Facebook. You know, you have an account, but as far as taking that next step of how you run a nonprofit on it, how do you do it? Do you have a website and it hasn't changed in a couple of years? Take a minute and let us know where you are in communications and PR. And whenever we get into the particular sessions, I realize some of your answers may be COVID driven, and I totally get it. And we will definitely flex for, given the environment that we're in, whenever we discuss, given COVID, these are things to consider. Given the inability to meet person to person, these are things to consider. So we will touch on that as we get into environmental type situations as far as how to deal with communication and public relations. I have a group on here that I drug kicking and screaming into the Zoom world, but they did it. It just took a little bit of time and stuff. So we can help you get those skill sets and get with groups that have had to learn. Awesome. Chris, if you can end this one. Ooh, this one looks like we're a lot more evenly spaced. Again, if you have something in the other, please put it in the chat so we can capture it. You lack the person or the skill set to get this done. Totally get it. This is a tough one. This is why, especially this capacity grant may be very applicable if you go through all the classes to leverage in this space. That, or we just need to get the word out. You know, the one thing we're finding lately, a good organization that has leveraged this one in the community is our local county farm bureau. They actually, those kids are really, really good with this. So they've actually been leveraging interns from high school to help them with their social media and help them with their newsletter. So we'll give you some tips and tricks in this space. Lacking the social media presence. Yeah, just getting started. And stuff, we'll get you guys there for sure. And as far as what is the biggest bang for the buck? You know, you don't have to take it all on at once. Chris will go over, and I'll go over with Chris here in just a minute. What is the biggest bang for the buck? Where do I start? The social media is so overwhelming. Winging it. We'll talk about communication plans and stuff. So we'll go ahead and move into the next one. Take a minute for my screen. So February 3rd and 4th will be communications and public relations. Here's where we will talk a little bit more about your brand identity and stuff, as far as, you know, do you just have your logo and your letterhead, getting your overall message out there, how to appeal to people. Engagement mix. So this is the one for those of you that answered that social media question. How do you have a good mix and knowing your audience and how to leverage those? Because we'll be honest, our county especially, we still have the people in the county who want that mailer. They want that postcard. They want to put it on their refrigerator and stuff. And we have that next level that they want Facebook and stuff. And knowing the different demographics, age-wise and demographic-wise in our county, and as far as how you engage them and getting the right mix for the patrons and the supporters of your organization. So we will get into that. And then here's one that's a little scary, but having a plan. Once you have a plan together for the year, as far as, or even for a quarter, as far as what you're going to communicate and when, go ahead and pre-planning. You know, we have a fundraiser coming up, so we need to have something out in the gold banner by this date, or we need to have it on these calendars by hand. Having a plan in advance makes the work when you get there so much easier. So we'll share with you some communication plans or calendars to help you set yourself up for success. Chris Ringness, who's our PR and communications coordinator here at the foundation, is going to be the main presenter in this one. He's going to share with you guys things here at the foundation too that you can leverage to be efficient and effective. You don't have to do it on your own. We can leverage each other and stuff and become partners in that, and making sure that your voice is heard. In this one, the suggested attendees are marketing or communication chairs, website or social media managers, if you have those, or if it's just a volunteer that said, I'll try to do Facebook, let me have it. Send them our way. It could be, since this is something they're interested in, if they just had a few more tips and tricks, they might be willing to do a little bit more and stuff and say, I think I can do that. So please send them our way on this one. So that one will be Communications and Public Relations, February 3rd and 4th. Chris, next up. Oh, the scary one, nonprofit accounting, AKA finances. So do you still do everything on paper or a very simple Excel spreadsheet? It's okay. We'll get you there, but is it very simple? Do you have a clear view on number 2? Do you have a clear view on your revenue streams? Do you know what funds have come in that are restricted, meaning somebody gave it to you and you can only use it to spay and neuter cats. You can't use it to do anything else in your organization. Are you, and I've been in this space, especially when I was new, do I trust my treasurer, my bookkeeper is doing it right, but I don't really know what they're saying in a meeting? I don't know some of their jargon and what the words that they're using, and I just don't want to ask. I have so been there. I came from very much a marketing and a program perspective. So whenever it comes to finances, coming from Intel, we have an entire division that takes care of our finances. I trusted them. This is a whole different space now. As a board and as you're a group, you are charged with fiduciary oversight. Unsure of filings and are they up to date and complete. There's a lot when it comes to finance that has to be filed. If you do a raffle, you have to register with the state. Do you know that? Are you doing it, or are you just kind of doing it under the table? You know, having that. Do you have regular reviews of your finances? You know, do you do an annual audit? And I don't mean it has to be a big audit. Do you have someone other than your treasurer look at your books at least once a year and sign off that they've been looked at and stuff? So those are some others. Please, I see that other is a big 40%. If you have an other, put it in the chat so we can make sure that we capture it for you. This one's the scary one, and I get it. Been there, done that. That's all I can say on this one. Okay, Chris, if we can end this one, please. Beautiful. Okay, on the other, please enter that in the chat for us. We will go over a lot of lacking the understanding of IRS requirements and receipting. This one's one too that's daunting, but once you understand it, it becomes old hat. I can walk into any nonprofit now, and even just like a booster organization, and say, we just had this conversation with a booster organization at a local high school this week as far as receipts and the language that should be entailed, whether somebody gives you something in kind or whether they give you cash. It's two different types of receipts, but once you have the format and just the basic language, you just put in their name and off it goes. Super easy. Treasurer or bookkeeper, need to get you guys up to date on some of that jargon and language to get you understanding what they're saying when they present in a meeting and stuff, so you're not lost. So let me let my computer catch up. February 10th and 11th will be nonprofit accounting. Again, what is the difference in between a nonprofit and a business, including some budget basics? There are some things that you need to plan into your budget if you are a nonprofit versus a business. How to read a financial statement. You're going to see that down here is Lois Roberts, our donor services, and Sakina Madraswala, who is our CPA for the foundation, that will tell you how do you read these financial statements, especially if you're one of our funds and you get your statements and you're like, okay, and you look at your bottom line and that's it. And you're like, okay, we still have money in the bank, tuck it away. But really how to read that and how to present it. Financial planning and controls. Some of those best practices, oversights, again, just doing an audit once a year. It doesn't have to be with a CPA. It doesn't have to be anything big. Just having someone else look at the books other than your treasurer on a regular basis and sitting down and doing it and signing off on it. And then compliance. And this is a big one that as a nonprofit or nonprofit like, even if you're using our 501c3 and you're one of our funds, we, as you guys know, we require paper trails on stuff so we can keep fiduciary oversight of our own funds. So we're always in good standings, and we're doing our filings, and we're doing our audits as well internally as the foundation, but giving you guys this compliance as well. So Sakina will be doing this one, Madrasala, who's our CPA, Lois Roberts, who is our donor services liaison, because she's also a big one involved in the financial statements, and especially if you have questions as far as if you have a fund with us as far as what's in there. I do apologize. Sakina actually told me to knock as far as suggested attendees off. She said if you're using a CPA, they should, due to all of their learnings and their accreditation, they should have all this. But your finance chair, your treasurer, if you're using an outside bookkeeper and they're willing to come to this class, please, 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 by all means, send them. It may be they might like this if they serve several nonprofits. I know I have been with entities where we just use a local bookkeeper. They don't quite have the knowledge of a CPA, so they might not completely know the ins and outs of a nonprofit and stuff, and they don't have the learnings of them. So beautiful. All right, so those are the 5 classes. I think I'm doing pretty good. I told you we'd be jam-packed. So if you do all 5 classes in the series, again, this is going to be by organization. So we will be taking attendance by organization. So as long as there's a representative from the organization, you will be eligible to apply for an Endow Eldorado capacity building grant up to $50,000. Capacity building, that's different from projects and programs that you're used to applying to us for, you know, whether it's to build a planter box or to, you know, do something, a specific project or program. This is for you to expand your organization's capacity. So what that means is, an example would be, say you're doing everything in Excel and you'd really like QuickBooks, or you'd really like some software and some training to enable your treasurer or whoever's doing your finances to be better and more judicious. You could apply for a grant to get that software and to get that training to bring that person up to speed. If you need a website developer and stuff, you could apply for a grant to do website development, to do enhancements, or to get someone trained to do that. If you need to hire a bookkeeper or a CPA, this is allowing you to expand your capacity of your organization, to take these things that we've taught you, or to see a job or position that you need, to put it into place. It's going to be renewable for a year. So it'll be dependent on, so after you use that $50,000, you can actually apply, because we really feel for something in the capacity space to take hold, it really needs 2 years. Because year 1, you're just going to be learning it. You're just going to be figuring it out, especially like look at that software and training. Year 2 is where we completely expect you to start reaping the benefits of that capacity that you've put into place. So as long as year 1, you show us that your funding use is on track for the way that you said it was going to be used, and we can see that, and that you are using the best practices that you learned in these courses, you will be eligible to apply for another $50,000 to keep that going for year 2. So you are eligible for up to $100,000 in capacity grants. So super, super big. So what happens year 2, after year 2, because I know everybody's going, well, if I get all this money, the hope for a lot of these things is after you have these things in place, after you have a better website, after you have better donor engagement, after you are now raising the funds and you are reaping the benefits of the things that you have learned. So you're seeing your revenue increase, or you're seeing cost savings in other areas. So now this position, or whatever it is that we've helped you, we've basically given you the foundation to start. You have now reaped the benefits of it and can keep it going. So whether you now have a fancy website that has a donation button and you have the social media and everything's hooked up and you can see your revenue go up, or you have new revenue streams, that after 2 years, you are good to go on your own. So super exciting. I know this is something before I've wanted to hire a fundraising person, you know, and they wound up, you know, after they've had their couple years, they raise enough funds that their job is paid for and they don't need the support. But just getting off that ground and getting that position or that software or that something paid for is what these will be for. So I'm going to stop share and see if there's any questions real quick.
Before we go into the,
And I will, if you could raise your hand, and I'll be honest, I'm going to have Lois Roberts, if you could please bring your phone in here because there is something up with my speakers. Are there any questions? Watching for hand raises. My staff could help too. Nikki, go ahead.
Sorry, I had to unmute. Maureen was asking the same question and I haven't seen an answer. Sorry if I missed it, but can that money be used to hire a staff? To have at least one paid staff?
As long as in your budget narrative, it is explaining how it's going to help capacity and stuff. So, and that it's going to enable you to grow and be more efficient and effective. Like I know a lot of people, for example, there's a group on here, Housing El Dorado, that I know if they could hire almost someone who's almost like an executive admin that can help with minutes and agendas and setting things up and stuff, that helps you free up your board or your organization to do things. Heck yeah, as long as it helps you build your capacity. Great question, Nikki, but yes. Anything else? I know I still have to go over logistics, so don't worry, I will. As far as, because everybody's like, what time are these classes? When are they going to happen? Are they in person?
Avis, can you hear me?
I do that. I didn't do that good, you guys. Well, I'm excited to really dig into your guys' inputs because again, we have a framework for our objectives for each course, kind of like a syllabus, but I really want to make sure that we're going to dig in and that we're covering all of your needs or as many as possible. Oh, I see another hand. Dave Martinez, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Bill's trying to talk. He was trying to get in there. So I'm going to turn it over to Bill Roby.
For some reason, Avis, you couldn't hear him, but we could. And it looks like he stepped away to try to troubleshoot.
Okay, so they just told me that they could hear me. So a couple points. I was reading the chat as it was coming through, and this is really a learning experience for us as well as a foundation. So I want to bring that forward. Andrew mentioned about the pool of qualified possible board members, and that sent a spark off with me. And that's something we're going to be talking about as a foundation in the coming months. We have a lot of donors here at the foundation, and we're going to take a look at, do we offer a course training for potential new board members so that we walk them through an entire, what does it mean to become a board member? What are the expectations? What should you know going in? And that we can, as a foundation, start to develop that next wave of board members so we can become the training ground for them. So I really appreciate all your comments, because out of this, we're going to grow to the next level as well. The other thing I wanted to point out is the cyclical nature of the floors. So as Avis is explaining, the ground floor, the mezzanine, the first, second, third, fourth, and you move up to the penthouse. It's cyclical. So an organization can move all the way up to the penthouse. You have internal change that occurs or growth change, and you can find yourself back on the ground floor and you work back up to the penthouse again. So it is constantly evolving, but it's always good to identify where you're at in the point in time. From a foundation perspective, a lot of our nonprofits are on the mezzanine. struggling to make that leap from that mezzanine level to the first floor. And that main component is having staff. It's being able to recruit somebody that helps you develop your internal capacity. And that's something we're very aware of.
Beautiful. Deborah, I see you still have your hand up.
Okay, can you hear me? So, so is there a formal RFP that we will apply for? Is that part of the logistics you're saying you're going to talk about shortly? And what's the time frame and deadline for all that?
No problem. Yeah, after the classes, there will actually be a grant application stuff. So you will, and we'll remind you as you go through the classes as far as, hey, start thinking about it. Kathy, Kathy Haven, we're finalizing our grant application. We have a few tweaks to do with our grant committee over the next month, but we'll have you to start thinking about it as you're going through the classes and launching. I think we're finalizing the deadline actually with our grants committee in our December meeting as far as when this would open and stuff, but something to definitely start thinking about. But there will be a formal grant proposal. RFP, great question. Request for proposal, Robin Kelly, good question. Again, we're all at different levels. It can be a grant application, it can be an RFP, it can be an RFQ, request for quotes. Definitely, as we're going through this, you guys, acronyms, call them out and stuff. That's a big one. Any other questions? I'm checking through because anybody who's worked with me, I am a stickler for agendas and being on time, because that's another thing. If you have a board that's especially volunteer board, their time is precious. You want to be respectful of them and stay within your limits of when you said you would use them and stuff. And if you build that trust with them, it's really good. Is there a minimum number of board members the organization should aim for? Oh, yes. We'll capture that one. We can cover that one in the board one. That's a good one, Morgan, that you just plugged into the chat. So we will grab all these. So I'm going to go back to share real quick. So we can wrap up. Let me get my screen. It takes a minute to catch. So next steps for you guys. What you need to do is you need to go back internal to your organization and to decide and register. Again, if you guys need to tag out in between sessions, no problem, but at least start having that conversation is who is best to attend each session. That's why we had this in November, because we know you all have Thanksgiving and we know you all have Christmas, so you have a little time to figure out who is the best person to attend each session, who is best to attend the session and bring the learnings back to the organization. Or honestly, it may just be who's available. We all know that we're all busy, but have those internal discussions. Again, those would be my rankings as you have that discussion of who's best, who would benefit the most, who would be a really good person to bring it back, and who's just available. Again, we want to see someone represented. We'll be taking attendance at each session, looking at organization represented, that the organization is represented, not individual representation. As far as how these sessions are going to happen, we're going to continue to monitor public health and safety protocols, and we'll be watching our forecasted attendance to determine if the sessions will be in person or virtual. We will make that decision as quickly as possible. I put January 5th as my last call, but we'll do it earlier than that because we know it's important for planning if we can. Our preference is to do in person because we have case studies that we would like to do with you and to be able to share and collaborate in an environment where you all aren't just here looking at slides, but we've all been through a lot of the same scenarios, and we want to be able to have those conversations and have breakout sessions to make that happen. So that's kind of like the next steps that you need to do. I'm going to stop my share because I know there was questions about timing I saw, and I'm right at noon and I swear I'm going to be done really fast. These sessions, I believe we're aiming for, it will be a weekday. We're aiming for the mid to late morning. We will have those times up right away. You can expect the session. If they are online, we're not going to make it painful. It'll probably be 90 minutes. or so. If we can go in person, they will be a little longer because we will want to do case studies. So please be a little fluid with us right now. If you can, we will get you the answer as fast as possible. But again, if we can be in person, we will make it more robust and we will have those working sessions. If we can't do it in person, we'll at least do lots of polls and stuff like this, but we'll keep it shorter and stuff because I know that my brain sometimes operates like a third grader and my attention span can be like 5 minutes, and I totally get it. Any other questions? And we'll get that information out as quickly as we can. And we really want it to be in person. I do.
There are a
Anything else?
couple of
Deborah, your hand
raised.
just still up. Kathy Haven.
There you go.
Okay.
Hi
And you
there. Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Haven from the El Dorado Community Foundation. I just quickly wanted to answer to what Avis was talking about with the RFPs, because that's my wheelhouse. They will be open in mid-April for your planning. For those of you that have finished the series, it will be an RFP that'll be open for a little over a month. So that means funding for those that are the recipients won't be available till about June or July for your planning. It's not immediate right away. It's something for you to plan ahead for.
Awesome. Well, I'll flip through real quick, see if I have any more hands up. Looks like I'm in the clear. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, Avis, AVIS, at eldoradocf.org. You can also go on our website and find me. Any other questions to follow up, please feel free. I wasn't as good as I usually am, 2 minutes over, but I tried and stuff. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm super excited to get to know you all and work on this. I think, again, you guys do awesome work for our community and I just want to make it even better. So thank you and appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.